Okay, so the engine parts are down at the engineers, having a rebore and the valve guides fitted and so on, and the crank reground. And while that's happening, we're just going to prep the frame a bit, because what we're doing with this bike is we're not going to build the engine. We're not going to build it on the bench. Well, we're going to start assembling it on the bench, but we're actually going to assemble the engine in the frame. So the frame is going to be like a glorified engine stand, and so I tend to do that if I can, because it saves you trying to fit a huge, great, heavy, massive engine into a frame, without damaging it at the end when the whole thing's built. So yeah, it's a bit tricky, but if you've got a good bike lift like this one, so you can move things to different heights, then overall I find this easier. So we've got a fairly it's not molested, this bike, but obviously now with the engine out, it's all pretty manky down here, so we're just going to clean it up. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get some WD-40 to begin with and spray that on. WD-40 oil, spray that on and just wipe it down, and just get the worst of the sort of gunge off. And see what the frame's like underneath. We might touch the frame up with some paint if we need to. Not sure till I get it cleaned down what's what. And yeah, we just get everything ready. I'm just looking, and I can see that there's a spacer. There's a spacer missing on this main engine bolt here. There's a spacer that goes on. I think I must get it right. It's on the timing side, between the center crankshaft and the frame. So I'm fairly sure. I know that's on a T150. I'll double check that does exist on a T160. That they didn't change it, but I don't think so. I'll check that. But what I'm going to do now is just start cleaning this up, so that when the engine does come back and we start assembling it, then it's the frame is ready to accept the crankcases, and then we'll start building up the rest of the engine with the crankcases in the frame. Yeah, so I've just checked the parts catalogue for the T160, and sure enough, there's the spacer number 24, and that goes on that long bottom bolt between the engine 24 spacer bottom engine fixing. And a lot of people don't know that's there, and so then when you try and tighten that bolt up, obviously there's a gap, and so you tighten it, and you tend to bend the frame in, obviously because there's a gap. So it's worth knowing that little spacer. We'll obviously, when we come to put the crankcase in, we'll cover that then. Okay, coke. So I've cleaned up all the frame around where the engine sits, and it's come up really well. There's just a few bits and bobs where there's sort of paint has rusted or rubbed through. So I'm just going to probably touch that up with a bit of black paint. But yeah, it's I'm glad we got rid of the grease and stuff, and looking a bit more respectable now. So I'll just touch it up with a bit of probably a bit of smooth Hammerite, just little scratches and things, and bits of rust, and then we're about ready to put the engine in. The only because it's different, because normally, obviously, if you're restoring a bike from scratch, you've just got the frame, but in this case we've got all the wires and all bits and bobs and cables and that as well, because of course we've just taken the engine out and now I'm going to put it back in. But so it's all looking a bit sort of, I don't know what's the word, doesn't look very nice with all the sort of bits hanging about everywhere, but it will look nice when we finish it. It's already looking a lot better. I've taken the oil pipe off and the front bracket and so on, and cleaned those in front engine mounting bracket clean those in white spirit separately, just to get things out of the way so we can see what we do in a bit. Okay, I'm just going to touch up the frame where it needs it, and we're about ready. I'll need to order that spacer, because about the first thing we do is when the crankcases are together is to put the engine in on that long engine mounting bolt. Okay. Right, so there we go. I've just touched up the frame with a bit of black Hammerite, just get rid of all the sort of rusty bits and just make it look a bit more presentable. And so just getting it ready there for when the engine's ready to go in. So I think that's good, that's fine. And so that'll do us, and then we'll just have to wait for the engineer to do their stuff and get back to us. I might do some work in the meantime, because you never know how long that engineer's is going to take. So what I might do is I might strip down the electric start mechanism and service the starter motor, and I might also strip down the carbs and just give them a good clean. They're all okay, the carbs. They just strip them down and check them and check they're all clean. So I might do that now rather than later on, because I'm not sure how long it will be before we get the parts back from the dear old engineers.